INEOS is at it as they are trying to rebuild Manchester United. David Beckham has come out to make an interesting statement about their process. Meanwhile, Anthony Dos Santos' time at Manchester United might be done soon. Welcome to the United Sport. My name is Webb. Quick morning update about what's going on at Manchester United. Let's get into it now. Here are reports coming through suggesting that Anthony Dos Santos will be available for sale for about £40 million, or he will be loaned out in January with the hope that later on in the year, in the next summer, there will be a club interested in taking him on a permanent. So meaning the plan now, I think the long-term plan for INEOS is to separate or to part ways with Anthony Dos Santos and Manchester United. These are according to reports that are coming through. I'm not sure that should be surprising. The honest truth is that Anthony has tried to show some, bits of improvement in recent games. The few cameos he's made this season, we've seen a bit of improvement with him coming off the bench and trying to change things around. But the reality is he has a long way to go. Things are not still quite happening for him. I think so. Certainly for me, Man United looking away from him doesn't shock me at all, because the reality is perhaps his levels will never get to where we hoped them to be when we were agreeing to pay £85 million for him. So Anthony might be let go of in the next summer. Now there's been talk of Man United and INEOS contemplating bringing in a couple of Bayern Munich players from Grozeka, but also Leroy Sané. But then there are talks of Leroy Sané extending his stay at Bayern Munich. Sané was also linked with a move to Arsenal in the last summer. So he's one of those wingers who is looked at as of course, experience. He has got a lot of experience that can come in handy in the Premier League for any club he joins. But also, he gives a different dimension in terms of depth in the wing, especially if a team like Man United is looking for a replacement of Anthony. You've got these young kids in Ahmad and Garnacho and all these young wingers we've got. You need a bit of experience ahead of them, and I think Leroy Sané would quite make sense. That is, if he's not going to be a high money signing. So I think for me, it doesn't, of course, disappoint me. I should say. I think we need a bit of experience, especially in the creative department of the team, to support these youngsters who at times make naive decisions, and clearly you see them struggling because of inexperience. So it's just the cost at which it would come. That would be the only disquiet I would have. Meanwhile, speaking of that, David Beckham has come out in an interview with Rio Ferdinand and spoken about how Man United need to give time to INEOS to change things. It feels like things are headed in the right direction. Of course, the axing of people like Sir Alex Ferguson reducing the wage bill of the club to try and find all funds to be able to push the agenda of helping the football department of Man United get better. All that is quite I think significant if we are going to see changes. I mean, those marginal gains change a little things and focus on the football. I think it does make a lot of sense. So David Beckham, a club owner himself in the US, of course, the club he owns is nowhere close to Manchester United, but comes out to give that I think give us the confidence that we can trust INEOS and the process, and just give it time. I think for me, it makes a lot of sense, because time is what you need. In football, you don't have a lot of it because the fans are always demanding and expecting results. But I think if you've been under a poor management for so long, when the good management comes in, you have to give them time. That's a non-negotiable. You've got to give them time. So INEOS need to be given time, because at least we are seeing the little things they're trying to change around the club. They've got to change the mentality of the team. A lot of things have got to be adjusted, and you feel they are quite on track in terms of doing that. So that's what David Beckham is telling us, and I think I agree with him. The question is, if we give INEOS time, does it mean we give Erik ten Hag time? I think if we give INEOS time, what inadvertently that means is that we give time to whatever they choose to do. We give time to their plan, their process. So if their plan is to stick with Erik ten Hag a little bit longer, let's give them time and give them that benefit and wait and see. But the thing is, we want to give INEOS time, but force them to sack Erik ten Hag against their will, or force them to keep him if they want to sack him, like the case could have been when he won the FA Cup. I think that doesn't make sense. So I think INEOS themselves as well have got to be their own men, trust their plan, and stick to it. Even if we bring all forms of noise as supporters, let them just be transparent with their process so that we see it, we believe in it, and then we shall be giving it time and push in the same direction. If not, then of course the bickering is going to continue and go on, and at some point it gets frustrating, and perhaps it can corner you into making the wrong decision. So fans of football are like that. It does happen many times. So that's exactly what's going on. It's of course an interesting period for Man United, a period of transition that you feel we are hoping will yield something good for the club later on, as times go by. So in INEOS, we should trust. So there's been I think it is Stuart Pearce, yes, who came out and said, the former England player and assistant coach, I think he came out and said that Manchester United. So Stuart Pearce has come out and said that Manchester United players should use this opportunity to do the right thing, saying that they should take up the challenge and pay Sir Alex Ferguson's wages to keep him around. If INEOS sacked Sir Alex Ferguson from his ambassadorial role because of financial issues, he's saying these Manchester United players should take deductions and collectively come up with the 2 million or so quid that Sir Alex Ferguson is paid per year, and keep him around because they need him and his inspiration. Interesting stuff there. I think Stuart Pearce is sounding completely like he's clueless about football and footballers, with all due respect, because I think footballers globally are the most stingy fellows you can find. They can't do that with their money. Footballers to give up their money for charity to some legend they heard of course, they know Sir Alex Ferguson is a legend, but they don't care that much that they would want to. Probably it's even a feeling of good riddance for some of them, seeing that Sir Alex Ferguson is going to leave. So Stuart Pearce's suggestion is quite interesting, but there's divided opinions about Sir Alex Ferguson and Manchester and his departure from Manchester United. There are some people who feel he shouldn't leave that role. There are those like me who feel, whereas we respect him, Sir Alex Ferguson's stay there is perhaps a bit of an impediment to the progress of the club, because we keep being and lost under his wings, and looking at him, the pressure he brings, his presence is way too big. It's like Sir Alex Ferguson is Man United. The more he keeps around, it makes it so difficult for these young players and managers to perform. So I actually think if I were a player, I wouldn't buy into Stuart Pearce's idea, not because I'm stingy with my money, but because I'll probably I would contribute to pay for him to leave, so that pressure eases. These players get a lot of pressure knowing that all these big legends of the club are all over it like a body rush. They're not moving on. It's not easy. It's not easy. It gets so difficult for them. So I honestly don't agree with what Stuart Pearce said, and I hope, of course, I also know the players won't do it, but that is just an opinion from another former player. Just like it's my opinion that what he says is doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense, and it wouldn't happen. No players wouldn't do that. The players don't do that. They're not that generous. I think that's him being overrating players, yet he's a former player himself. But yeah, that's it. That's Man United for you. Do remember that we return to action on Saturday against Brentford at home. Brentford, in the last time they won us, was a 4-0 victory. It was away from Old Trafford. We are at Old Trafford. Last game away from Old Trafford we faced them was a 1-0 draw. We should be expecting a win. Injuries left, right, and center, but they shouldn't matter. Regardless which squad we have, regardless of the players we have, Man United should be able to beat the life out of Brentford, and that is what we expect. Nothing short of that for me, in my view. So let's wait and see what exactly will happen in that one. I'll give you my pre-match, of course, view and prediction after Erik ten Hag's pre-match press conference. That will happen tomorrow. That is Friday. But for now, keep subscribing, liking, share, drop a comment, and let me know whether you think indeed players should come up collectively, raise the fee that Sir Alex Ferguson has been paid so that they keep him around. Pay for the pressure. Pay for your own pressure to keep it around. Guys. Opinions. I don't. It's not happening. It's not happening. Not at all. Never going to happen. Not at Manchester United. Like, share, and subscribe, and let me catch you later, fam.